Hey, my name is Kelly Kessler. I'm the host of the podcast Rewiring Health, and I'm obsessed with helping you stop feeling burnout, living in pain, and anxious about the future. You see, for years, I felt like I was never good enough. I repeated in my head, when I accomplish this, then I'll finally be happy. And even when I accomplished it, there was always emptiness in my heart. I always put others' needs before my own. Negative thoughts ran wild in my head, and I always struggled to truly feel like I could relax and be present. Well, through my journey of healing, rewiring my brain, regulating my nervous system, and reprogramming my subconscious mind, I have recovered from an eating disorder, I have healed from chronic back pain, and I can truly be present with my two boys and feel that I am living the life I was destined to live with purpose and with joy. And I'm here to guide you along the same journey of healing. If you're feeling stuck and want to move towards a life that you desire, you're going to want to stick around for this episode. I have the pleasure of speaking with Leah Pardee. Leah Pardee is a manifestation mentor and breathwork facilitator. She hosts the Barenaked Soul podcast and is the author of Confessions of an Uncaged Soul, plus 2 guided journals. Leah teaches women all over the world to overcome fear and live in alignment so they can manifest their most fully expressed lives. So you wake up, your phone is right on the table next to you, and it feels almost like a magnet. You grab the phone, and before you know it, you subconsciously open every app, scroll through social media, you're on your email, you're looking at the news headlines, and you're feeling stressed. And this is how you start your day. I can't tell you how many times I did this, and it did not serve me. It set me up to be in a whirlwind of negativity, and I was just starting my day. And that's why I created the morning guide for perfectionists. So if you struggle with negativity throughout the day, and it's even worse in the morning because you don't have a routine, this will help you tremendously. It's literally everything that I implement that has helped me start my day with the right intentions and put myself into a place of inner harmony. So grab in the link below and enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of Rewiring Health. Very excited to be joined by Leah Pardee. So welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, me too. And what I was just saying that what drew me to you and what I love about what you do is just how important it is and how crucial it is for people to incorporate breath work and all that into their lives and manifestation. I love these topics. So I can't wait to dive in here and talk more about it. But just to start, do you mind just talking about maybe your journey of how you got into doing what you do today and what that looked like from where you started and where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. My life did a total 180. It's so crazy. Like looking back 5 years ago, I wouldn't have believed that. Like if you told me what my life would be like in 5 years, I'd been like, no way. Possible is what I would have thought, because back then I just had such a limited perspective of what was possible.
Mm-hmm.
And a big reason why I wanted to get into doing what I do and it evolved and grew to being, this mentor type of person is like, we can't really know what's possible unless we see someone else do it. So it's been a big thing for me. But basically, about 5 years ago, I was working in corporate and I liked my job and I liked corporate. Like I didn't want to work from home. This was before COVID, so no one worked from home except for people in sales, like some sales jobs. And I was like, I don't want that. Like, I loved the hustle. I loved the grind. It was my worth. It was like so attached to my worth that I somehow enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. Even though I couldn't relax, would go on vacation, laying on a beach, physically my body was unable to relax. And I thought, this is just because I'm so hardworking.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, I can totally relate.
Yeah. And so I had like a lot of anxiety. It would manifest as like pain in my chest. I had a lot of neck and shoulder pain. And it's hilarious because I thought maybe I'm just getting old, but I was like 25, 26 at the time. And so I just thought this is the way life is until I read the book, The Secret. That was kind of my first introduction to manifestation, spirituality, that whole realm of things. And from there, it like catapulted. I was like, okay, I need to learn more about this. I'm going to read all the books. I'm going to listen to all the podcasts. and started applying it to my life and saw changes so quickly, just reframing my thoughts around things, reframing what I believe was possible, and seeing how quickly my life changed. It was like I was wearing one pair of glasses and I put another pair on and everything looked different.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so from there, I started journaling and doing meditation and breath work, and everything started to improve, from my health to my marriage to my, career. I started becoming the path to becoming a life coach. Eventually left the 9-to-5 world, and now I just do this full time. But yeah, it's been quite a transformation.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how it's so amazing how we put these limitations on ourselves and we don't even realize we're doing it. And then it's like when you see something outside of that, you're like, oh my gosh, like I am capable of so much more than I ever realized I could. And it's like really just taking a chance on yourself and investing in yourself to see something bigger. And I just love that you did that and you saw the results from that. It's amazing. Do you mind just talking about the manifestation part? Because I've also read the book, The Secret, and I've watched a documentary, and it's so interesting because when I started my journey, that was something that I had also took in and started applying. So I am such a believer in that. But do you mind just talking about how you applied that manifestation part and really what that looks like for someone who maybe doesn't really know what that looks like?
Yeah. So for me, it really started with looking at people who were expanders for me. So people who were thinking differently, doing life differently, and getting results that were, wildly crazy to what I was experiencing in my life. People on the internet, people who hosted podcasts, and I would look at these people and look at their lives, and I would say, wow. I started to reframe it, because before I would have thought she got lucky. I thought people who had a job where they just shared their life on the internet and taught about something, like they just got lucky, right? I thought that about a lot of things. But I started to tell myself, if she can do it, I can do it too. And that became like a huge mantra for me. So things like mantras, meditation, learning to using meditation and breath work to learn to become aware of my thoughts. And journaling to rewrite my limiting beliefs. These are just some of the tools I used. But yeah, for me, it really started with looking at all of my beliefs. What did I believe about life? And noticing how limiting they were and how someone else was doing it a different way and it was working for them. So it wasn't really a fact. If my life didn't have to be that way, if it was happening a different way for someone else. So I started to really play with that in the journal a lot, rewriting limiting beliefs, digging in, uncovering where did I get this belief from, and why do I believe this, and shifting, and then saying those affirmations all day long of my new beliefs, and then taking action. What do I want? Starting to take those affirmations and use them, and use them in taking action in real life. So seeing the kind of business I wanted to have and deciding it could be mine and starting to do it instead of telling myself it wasn't realistic.
Yeah.
So that's kind of in a nutshell, how it goes. You have to rewrite your limiting beliefs, decide how you're going to see yourself and see life, and then take the 3D world action to make it real.
So true. Yes. And it's so interesting when you start diving into those limiting beliefs, because there's so many things that you just thought was completely true. And cause I've gone through this myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not true. And then it's so liberating when you realize that I don't have to believe this. And this has been holding me back. And it's I find that once you start diving into that process, you start seeing more and more and more, and you realize why the outside world mirrors what's going on internally. And it's once you start changing within, now your external world changes. And that's the beauty of it. And I love that. And I love also too, that you talk about action, because I know a lot of times The Secret gets kind of a little, people give it some slack because it just talks about manifestation, but doesn't talk about the action part. And the action is so crucial. You can, want something so bad in your life and picture it, but unless you're willing to take that action and step out of your comfort zone, it's not going to jive. So having that combination that you talked about is, understanding your limiting beliefs, working through them, and then taking action is amazing. I love that.
Yeah. The other thing with action is I feel the more action we take, the easier it is then to believe that our goal is possible because we've been taking action towards it. And so
Yes.
it's a circle. It's like, okay, we have to get ourselves to believe first, then we take the action, but then we believe more, and then we keep taking the action, we believe more. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more because it's so true. It's motivation follows action. And it is so hard. Like if you think about a big boulder, it's so hard to get it moving. But once you get it moving, you get that boulder rolling quickly. But it's just being able to and being willing to kind of take that first action that's sometimes challenging. And then now momentum's on your side. So yes, I love that. As far as manifestation, do you mind sharing a story of one of the clients you've worked with who has applied that in their life and something that they've seen change in their life for the better?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I do. So there's been so many, but one of my favorites is a client that I worked with for a couple of years. And at first it was really working on confidence herself, moving through the type of relationships she was having and setting boundaries and really becoming, confident and bold within herself. And it was so beautiful to see her transformations over time, because she also came to a few of my retreats, so I got to know her in person. But yeah, she had a dream of singing, and she is a fabulous singer. I mean, her voice is incredible, but of course we have a hard time seeing our gifts. She's had that voice for a very long time, her whole life mostly, and since she was, I don't know how old you are when you have your voice that becomes your 10, 12, whatever. So it's like we get so used to our gifts, and so we don't see them as gifts, and we just dim our own light, and we're so afraid to step out and like believe. And it's just amazing, through using things like manifestation and really applying it, taking the action. She's now, singing, has two songs on Spotify, and is, a paid backup singer for different tracks on Spotify, and is like, has all these gigs in person. It's so cool to see what happens when you take that belief and you really, really, work on growing it, and then going out and doing what you truly want to do, despite all the fear and all the doubt.
Yeah, it's so important, and so important to work through those, because we all have doubts. If anybody says they don't have doubts or fear, it's not true. We all have those things that we're like, even when you start doing it, you meet another set of doubts, and it's just like, it's part of the process. And I think sometimes people think that like, oh, if I have all these doubts, it's a reason not to do it. No, if you have these doubts, it means you're pushing out of your comfort zone enough to realize that you're growing. Like you're gonna have more doubts as you grow. And I love that example you gave, because how cool is that like she had this voice and now she's capitalizing on that and using her gift. And I love that example that you gave. It's amazing. And going off of that, if someone was in a place where like felt like they're struggling right now, or they feel like all they can think about is everything negative that's going on in their life. Maybe they have a lot going on in their environment, maybe at home or at work. And it's like, they can't even, like, this all sounds so foreign and so like far away that they couldn't even conceptualize that. Where would you say for somebody who's in that place, where do they start to just get a different energy to get this ball rolling?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think the foundation of everything is being grounded. I think that's the word foundation, but I think that's the starting point, is really getting yourself centered and grounded, and getting yourself more aware of your thoughts. Because if you're in that really negative headspace, if your mind is constantly spiraling, it's not going to be super helpful just to start saying affirmations, right? Like just to start visualizing the future. I think we have to really cut through the noise and get ourselves to a more quiet, calm place, and like really relax our nervous system. So I would say get started with breath work, meditation, something that grounds you. And there's other tools as well. Those are just my go-to favorites for really quieting the mind. And breath work is really powerful in that way, because for people, especially in that headspace, but for anyone that lives in our society, sitting in meditation, even for just a few minutes, it's so foreign in the body to try not to be thinking and to not be looking at your phone and to not be doing anything. So I love breath work as a tool, because you're doing something, you're focusing on your breath. It's like, okay, this is, to the mind, it's like, okay, well, this is like productive, right? So this is okay, I can do this. And then it also works to, the specific breathing exercises work to shut off the default mode network part of the brain, which is that chatterbox, that constant overthinking. So then it makes it easier to kind of learn how to meditate, kind of learn to, we say quiet the mind. We don't really mean you're not going to have thoughts, but learn to observe the thoughts, right? Hear the thought and be able to let it go versus make it into this big story. I would really focus on finding a grounding tool that you love, and finding that place of inner peace, so that then you can look objectively at those thoughts as they pop up and say, is that really true? Mm-hmm. Do I really want to latch on to that? Mm-hmm. Or do I want to let that go?
Mm-hmm. So important. Yeah. And I like how you talk about quieting the mind, because I do think people have a misconception about a meditative or a mindfulness practice, that everything should just be quiet. And then like the minute they get this negative thought, they're like, well, I failed at it. I'm not good. I'm no good at this. Forget it. I just can't do it. Everybody else can. But that's part of the process. So I like how you talk about, it's not quieting the mind. It's just noticing it from a different perspective, and then kind of let it pass by. And I agree. The breathwork is absolutely foundational and crucial, and something that I practice every day myself. And same thing, like for someone who has that negative chatter, it is such a great way to kind of open up the doors to more. And so I completely agree with you with that. It's amazing. And do you mind just sharing a breathwork practice for like someone who's listening? What would be something to start with that's kind of simple, and you could kind of take that with you from here?
Yeah, absolutely. So breathwork is really just breathing in specific patterns. Mm-hmm. Really, there's so many, obviously there's tons that you can do. They vary from, just focusing on your breath, taking deeper breaths, to, a breathwork technique like conscious connected breathwork, where you're lying down for 20 to 30 minutes and it's a strong and fast breathing, and it kind of trips you out and you step into an altered state of consciousness, and it's just so cool. But yeah, so something really simple would be just breathing into your belly, feeling your belly expand, breathing through your nose, feeling the air rise up through your chest, feeling your chest expand, your shoulders relaxing, and just releasing it out through your mouth. So just taking really slow, intentional breaths in that way, following the air through your belly, following it up through your chest, sighing it out through your mouth, doing a few of those. It doesn't have to be an hour at a time. In fact, I would never recommend that for someone who, is trying to establish a routine and make something like a part of their life. It can be really centering and really peaceful.
Thank you for sharing that, because it's so true. And again, I completely agree that start very small and just do what you can. And just something as simple as that. It's like a lot of us, a lot of people are going throughout their day and don't even realize how they're breathing. It's so subconscious because it's just something you do. But when you really bring conscious awareness to it, now you can realize like, oh my gosh, every time I breathe, my shoulders come up, like that's not okay. Or like, it brings your brain back into your body. You start noticing things. And then once you start changing it, now your physiology changes your brain. And it's so true. That's why I'm a huge advocate of breath work. That's why I love what you do, because it's such an important thing. It's such an important skill for everyone to have. It's amazing. Kind of going off of that. Do you mind just sharing about, I know spirituality is kind of another one of those things where people are like, well, spirituality, I don't even know what that is. I don't know how to tap into it. It seems, again, so foreign. And, my head is so wrapped up in my immediate kind of staying in survival mode. Like, how would I even tap into that, like more spiritual side? Like how would you kind of say to start with that for people who are in a really tough place right now?
Yeah. So for me, spirituality is just guidance from within. Mm-hmm. So it's learning to allow yourself to be in that peaceful, grounded place, mm-hmm. so that you can notice what you really need. And it's going to be different for everyone. It goes hand in hand with intuition. It can be a feeling in your body for some people. It can be just getting used to noticing a gut feeling when something feels off. Mm-hmm. It can be voice in your head. It sounds like you, but how when it almost feels like a light bulb going off, it's like, oh, that's something I really need to pay attention to. Yeah, that's a really good idea, or that's something that doesn't feel right, you know? So to me, that's what spirituality is. It's learning to kind of listen to that inner voice and follow it. And of course, it's going to be followed with your mind saying all the reasons why that's ridiculous and won't work. I mean, this is literally every time I come up with an idea, it's followed by reasons why I shouldn't do it or won't. I mean, this is like the never-ending story of right? The mind, you said, the mind wants to keep you in that comfort zone. All about learning to play on those edges and be okay with stepping into the unknown, and be okay with your mind saying, are you sure? Like, really? Are you going to do that? Whatever. So yeah, I would say to start to tap into that spiritual side is kind of the same thing, starting with the quietness, starting with, you know, I think a really powerful grounding tool is just putting your cell phone away for a few hours, and maybe 1 hour, like go on a walk without your phone.
Yeah.
You know, and just see if you can notice the birds chirping, or just the sound of cars, like just what can you see? Just coming into yourself. What does it feel like for your feet to like step on the ground? What does that feel like?
Yeah.
Anything that makes you come into the present moment is going to help you then to notice those feelings, those gut feelings, those heart excitement feelings that you then learn to listen to.
Yeah, so true. And putting the phone away, crucial. I mean, we are all just attached to our phones, and it's like, again, one of those subconscious things. It's like, oh, and then before you know it, you're scrolling, and then like time's just going by, and where's your mind? It's on that. So I find many people just don't even spend like 5-10 minutes with their mind just not engaged in something that's stimulating. And we're really doing ourselves a disservice when we're not allowing ourselves to tap into that and be guided from within. And for someone who's saying like, okay, I have like all these like battling voices in my head, like, you know, the devil and the angel, like, how do I know which one is the one to listen to? Because I know that's a struggle for many people, or they get these voices in their head and they're like, okay, that sounds good. But then just like what you're talking about, you get that other voice like, are you sure? Are you really going to do that? That like doubt voice. How do you differentiate that, so that you know which one to listen to for guidance and which one to be like, quiet down and allow yourself to move forward?
Yeah, I love this too, because, you know, that's something where I still struggle with this. You know, I'm sure there's times for you as well when you're like,
100%.
okay, is that my intuition? Or like, because you're
Yeah.
always going to tell you to question it. Well, that's one ticket is, if you're resisting it really hard, often the thing you really are led to do. But I think it just takes practice. I think it's just like anything else we want to master in life, literally, is practicing. So really simple things could be, I mean, maybe some people think this is like ridiculous, but like for me, when I started driving a car, was the first, like GPS had just become a thing, like a widely available thing. So I had a GPS from day one, never learned to like figure out where anything was, you know. So when you're driving to some place you go to frequently, or maybe not quite so frequently, but you know, those times you're driving your car, you don't have a GPS on, you're like, okay, I know which way to go here, but I'm questioning it. So like practicing not using the GPS and just letting yourself like trust where to go and see what happens. When I'm hiking, I like to, you know, this, you could say this is dangerous. I'm not really hiking anywhere that's going to be really dangerous, but you know what I mean? Not necessarily pay attention to the trails. And then when I get to a point where I'm like, I'm ready to go home, I just practice like allowing myself to be guided to the path, and it always works. If I let myself say, okay, which way do I want to go here? And I just lean in and trust, always gets me back. So like little things. And then you could always take note too. You could always practice writing down when you kind of have that like inspired guidance, or that like, no, that doesn't feel right. Write it down and keep track and see if you can see the patterns, you know. And there's gonna be times when it doesn't work, but you'll get to learn what it feels like in your body. And for some people it's very much a gut feeling. For others it's more of like an emotional feeling. For others it's more of a voice. So really learning how your intuition shows up.
Yeah, such great tips. And it's so actionable too, like things you can literally just do and practice. And I love how you talk about it is about practice because again, I think many times so many people expect to be like, I did it once, I should be proficient at this. What is going on? And it's like that instant gratification that we've all been trained to get. We order something on Amazon, it's here at our doorstep tomorrow. And it's like with this, it does take time and it's not that instant gratification. And also I love the hiking thing that I literally do the same thing. So I'm with you. I thought it was just me, but yeah, I love that. Like, cause I do that too. And it's like, okay, I'm going to figure my way out of this. And it's like, just a very like nice experience when you have that, where you're like, I'm going to trust myself to do this. And it really does build that like confidence and that you can like communicate with yourself in a more healthy way. So I love that. So I know you wrote a book. Do you mind just talking about your book and who it's for and what messages that you share in that book?
Yeah, so my book is Confessions of an Uncaged Soul, and it is my memoir. And I wrote this for the person who is overcoming perfectionism or wants to start overcoming perfectionism and can relate to being a workaholic and being really in that hustle mindset where I'm hustling for my worth. My worth is tied to my what I produce in life. And it's really a journey. It's a memoir, so it shows my journey of kind of unraveling that and learning to experience the peace within, the self-love within, the confidence within, setting those layers of worrying so much about what the outside world thinks. I do provide throughout the book also like exercises and actionable things of like how to apply this to your life. And yeah, it's a journey of being obsessed with what other people think and outer success to finding that inner voice and finding what really matters to you.
Yeah, it's so true because there's so many people that do attach their self-worth to like what's on their resume or like what's in their bank account and all these like external things. And it's like when you make that transition, you're like, I'm worthy regardless of these things. It's game changing. So I love that. It was such a great concept for a book and so crucial for anyone who is like a high achiever and has really struggled with this. So I love that. Great concept there. And I know you have a podcast as well. Do you mind just sharing what your podcast is about?
Yeah, so the podcast is Barenaked Soul. It's just real conversations about a variety of topics, but manifestation, spirituality, entrepreneurship, holistic health. Yeah, digging into just whatever random thing I feel like talking about that week and sharing the realness behind it.
I love that. And I can put a link to all these in the show notes too, for anyone who's listening and wants to connect with that. And for anyone, again, who's listening and wants to connect with you or join on your programs, how can they find you?
Instagram is where I'm mostly hanging out. My handle is it's Leah Pardee. And you can just type my name, Leah Pardee, in anywhere and you'll find all my things. So yeah, there's some YouTube things. There's like a couple breathwork videos on there, meditations. So
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll put a link to that as well, again, for anyone who wants to connect with you. And thank you so much, Leah. This has been awesome. There's so many amazing like nuggets of gold here. So I appreciate you sharing them. And hopefully someone who's listening can take just one thing from today, apply it and see that transformation in life. So thank you again.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for spending your precious time to listen to this episode of Rewiring Health. My mission is to inspire hope and healing through science-backed practices. If you found value in this, please share with 3 people and leave a review. By doing so, this message can be spread to those who need to hear it most. Also, to get updates on the most recent episodes, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for being part of this community, and I am forever grateful for you.